After we got engaged, my fiancé sent me a child from overseas. Included was an email. Eleanor, I was so bored that Tiffany and I ended up with a kid. Since you will be my wife, I am entrusting him to you. Get to know him. You will be our nanny when we come home. I turned the child over to the butler, Mr. Davies. 7 years later, Derek Blackwood finally pulled up to the gates in a flashy sports car. A cigarette dangled from his lips. He tilted his head, slid off his sunglasses, and smirked. Did you miss me so much that you came to wait for me early? Tiffany and I married overseas for the kid's sake. But do not worry, I will still give you a wedding. He blew smoke rings toward me. The fumes stung my eyes and I stumbled back. Had no one told him in the past 7 years that I'd married his mafia boss uncle? Seeing my reaction, Derek walked over and slapped my shoulder. Wow, moved to tears. Keep Tiffany and me happy, and you might still get to be Mrs. Blackwood. I almost laughed in his face. Derek, whatever gave you the idea I'm desperate to marry you? He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You got engaged to me at 20. You've been raising my kid for years. Who else would have you? Thank God I dumped that asshole 7 years ago and married his uncle instead. A few years back, when we said goodbye at the airport, he'd held me tightly, promising solemnly, Eleanor, wait for me for 5 months. I'll make something of myself and come back to marry you. Turns out, he'd only been gone a month. Then, his and Tiffany Reed's child was sent back. They'd been secretly seeing each other all along. The thought of it made me raise my hand, ready to slap him. But before my hand could land, a child's voice interrupted me. Mommy! Max suddenly popped out, holding his arms open for a hug. My husband was busy with meetings today, so I was taking care of Max alone. I bent down to pick up Max, but someone abruptly snatched him away. Who are you calling mommy? I'm your mother! Tiffany Reed burst out from behind Derek, seething, and slapped Max twice. My eyes twitched with rage. I spun around and pushed her. Before she could even fall, she grabbed Derek's sleeve and began to sob dramatically. Derek, I just want the child to call me mom. Eleanor refused and then tried to hit me. Her cry instantly drew all the bodyguards. They surrounded Max and me, while Derek just watched with cold eyes. I shielded Max behind me, gritting my teeth. Are you all blind? You're surrounding me for a mere housekeeper? Do you even know who I am? Enough! Derek snapped, then snuffed out his cigarette and pointed at me. Eleanor, who gave you the guts to talk to Tiffany like that? She's Mrs. Blackwood, the child's biological mother. You not only stopped them from bonding, but you publicly insulted her? I scoffed, pushing his hand away. This child isn't hers. A low-class housekeeper trying to claim my son as her own? If I hadn't been kind enough to give her a job as a maid back then, she would have starved. Who knew she'd go and seduce my fiancé? Derek grew even angrier. He snatched Max from my arms and thrust him into Tiffany's. Max's cries echoed through the yard. You're bad people! Go away! Seeing Max's face, red and tear-stained, my heart ached. But just then, Tiffany dropped to her knees at my feet. She stroked the child's small face, weeping loudly. Eleanor, even if you hate me, you can't abuse my child. With that, she pulled up Max's shirt, revealing red marks on his back. Derek's eyes widened, and when he looked at me again, his expression had changed. Eleanor, I kindly entrusted the child to you for practice. I trusted you so much, and you dared to whip him? Did you become this malicious just because you couldn't have me? Max's back was covered in parallel whip-like marks, terrifying in shape. Derek couldn't even imagine what kind of life his son had endured these past few years, but he didn't know. It was just a high fever. I had taken Max to a specialized pediatric clinic where they performed a traditional therapeutic treatment to bring down the fever. A few days ago, Max had a high fever, but due to his sensitive constitution, he couldn't take medication. So the doctor suggested trying the alternative treatment. At the time, even my husband couldn't quite understand the treatment, and he'd had Mr. Davies, and even the nutritionists, all sent out of the mansion. If my husband knew Derek was bullying Max and me like this now, he'd probably have one of his hands chopped off. Seeing that my people were already streaming through the gates, I was done playing games. I pointed at the two disgusting creatures and roared, "Take them down! Teach them the Blackwood family rules!" Derek's face flushed a furious crimson. As he fought off the bodyguards, he didn't forget to yell at me. Eleanor, if you keep acting crazy, I swear I'll never want you. I'll have you thrown out of the Blackwood mansion right now, I sneered. Just try it. These bodyguards were carefully handpicked by Max's dad. With them here, Max and I wouldn't suffer. Seeing she couldn't gain the upper hand, and noticing the bodyguards were wary of Max in her arms, Tiffany's eyes darted around. She immediately gripped Max, threatening, "Stop now, or I'll choke him." Max struggled desperately in her grasp, his face turning from blue to purple. Even his cries gradually faded. I instantly pulled out the small dagger from my pocket and lunged, stabbing fiercely at her. She shrieked and immediately let go. I pounced, quickly helping Max to breathe. "Max, don't be scared, mommy's here." Seeing the child convulsing, gasping for air, I quickly pulled out his asthma rescue inhaler, just about to give it to him. But Tiffany, reeling from her injury, threw her arms around me. She went wild, clawing and biting at me. "You bitch! You abused my child, and now you're trying to murder him in public." Derek's face went pale. He bellowed, "Eleanor, how dare you?" But it was too late. The medicine was already in Max's mouth. Almost simultaneously, the child's convulsions and wheezing gradually subsided. Only then did the two of them fall silent. But Max had been overstimulated and fainted. He needed an IV immediately. I ordered the bodyguards to hold them back, then turned and ran, carrying Max. Derek's furious shouts exploded behind me. "Eleanor, you've made enough of a scene. If you leave, you'll never be my woman again." "Like I care," he sneered. "So tough. If I don't want you, who else will?" Too bothered to argue with a mad dog, I simply gave my orders. "To the estate." The moment I got out of the car, I immediately sent someone to inform my husband, then rushed Max to the family doctor. Max had woken up at some point. His small hand clutched my shirt tightly, and he didn't forget to comfort me. "I don't hurt, mommy. Don't cry." The more understanding he was, the more guilty and regretful I felt. If I hadn't brought him back to the Blackwood house today, we wouldn't have run into those two lunatics. "Ma'am, please don't worry. The child will be fine." the doctor reassured me. But just as I placed Max into the recovery chamber, the infirmary door was violently kicked open again. Derek burst in, carrying Tiffany. Seeing me, a triumphant smirk flashed across his face. He looked at me with disdain. Just moments ago you said you didn't care, and now you're running back to my uncle's estate? Tiffany cowered in his arms, her eyes filled with venom. Eleanor, do you even know Derek's uncle is a mob boss? If you offend him, he'll throw you to the alligators. With that, Derek put her down, shoved the doctor aside, and grabbed me, trying to drag me away. Eleanor, hurry up and get out. Max, seeing him bully me, picked up a nearby water cup and hurled it at him. Ah! Derek's face darkened terrifyingly. He picked Max up with one hand. Are you trying to die? Daring to throw something at your own father? Seeing Max scream hysterically, his face turning blue and purple again, I struggled desperately, slapping Derek across the face. Let go of my son. Tiffany grabbed a nearby sterile cotton pad, intending to gag me. Bitch, keep your voice down. If you disturb his uncle, we'll all be punished. She suddenly went mad, unleashing a burst of strength I didn't know she had, knocking me to the ground and clamping the cotton pad over my mouth. Tiffany and I began to fight. Amidst her shrieks, Derek looked at me, utterly stunned. Eleanor, I thought you had some upbringing. That's why I let you take care of my child, but look at you now. You're like a maniac. From today on, Tiffany and I will raise Max ourselves. The words had barely left his lips when he suddenly let out a cry of pain. Max, seeing me being bullied, was desperate. He bit down with all his might on Derek's hand, right on the web between his thumb and forefinger. Max had always been incredibly attached to me. When he was 4, he'd use his tiny fist to try and scare off stray cats for me, standing defiantly in front of me, his voice a sweet, determined squeak. Don't you dare bully my mommy. Seeing Max drenched in cold sweat but still refusing to let go, I felt both proud and heartbroken. I was about to snatch the child back when Derek yanked my hair and violently flung me away. Eleanor, you turned my son into a bastard who doesn't recognize his own parents. Don't hit my mommy. Seeing me thrown to the ground, my forehead bleeding, Max screamed hysterically, ready to bite again. But Derek saw right through him. He squeezed Max's jaw, then looked towards Tiffany in the corner, applying constant pressure to Max's face. Bastard, your real mother is right there. She's not my mommy. You're bad people. Max stiffened his neck, his mouth bloody and bruised, tearing and biting at him. Derek completely lost his patience. He roughly threw Max to the ground, placed his foot on the child's chest, and smirked. This kid has been completely ruined by Eleanor. He doesn't even recognize his own parents. All right, fine. This is a perfect opportunity. Today, I'll teach you how to apologize to your parents. With that, he pressed down harder with his foot, grinding it into the child's chest. Max's muffled whimpers of pain echoed through the room. Let him go! You monster! You don't deserve to touch my son! I shrieked, my voice raw, clawing towards Max, tears of blood in my cries. He's having an asthma attack. Can't you see he can't breathe? If anything happens to him, Derek, you're dead. Derek scoffed as if he'd heard a joke, then twisted his head to glance at me, then at Tiffany, who was disheveled and covered in blood. A cruel glint appeared in his eyes. Asthma? Can't breathe? He doesn't even recognize me anymore. Why should I care if he lives or dies? Even if I accidentally kill him today, it's all your fault for ruining him. With that, he yanked Max's hair, forcing him to kneel. The poor child couldn't even stay kneeling. He couldn't even scream for help. I charged at Derek like a madwoman, wanting to tear him apart. He kicked me to the ground, then grabbed me and forced me to kneel before Tiffany. The child was ruined. Ultimately, it's your fault. Get down on your knees and apologize to Tiffany. I was held down tightly, my head slamming against the floor. Blood ran down my face, mixing with tears from my eyes. I stubbornly remained silent, glaring at him with cold fury. He pulled a dagger from a fruit bowl, brandishing it before my eyes, a meaningful smile playing on his lips. Just apologize, and I'll consider forgiving you. Otherwise, before he could finish, I spat a mouthful of blood at him. Derek was completely enraged. He wiped his face, then roughly yanked my hair and contemptuously patted my cheek. Don't blame me for being cruel. I gave you a chance, but you refused it. Then, he looked down, kicked Max's side, and sneered coldly. Watch closely. This is the first lesson your father is teaching you. If you're stupid, if you make a mistake, you pay the price. Max was jolted awake by the pain. His eyes snapped open to see a knife plunging towards my heart, and his pupils immediately constricted. Mommy! I don't know where he found the strength, but he struggled free from Derek's foot, leaping to shield me. No! I wrapped my arms around Max, my tears mixing with the blood on my face. My heart was clenching. Max's lips trembled as he lifted a shaky hand toward me, his voice breaking. Mommy, don't cry. Derek's eyes were bloodshot. He raised the knife again, aiming straight for my heart. You let my son die for you? Just as the blade was about to plunge down, a gunshot cracked from behind. Who's making such a racket in here?